Hello, welcome back. I'm Dan. This is Daily Art Adventure number 267. Woohoo! I started on January 1st. The numbers started on January 1st, 2017, and I've averaged just about 5 days a week for this first year. So I look forward to Daily Art Adventure number 10,000. Okay, I started this painting yesterday. It's a wedding painting of my daughter and son-in-law. They got married a year ago, and they're in our home visiting this weekend. So I told them I would do a painting of them and for them while they were here. So they were watching me yesterday for a while and are not here right now. I'm working from my phone. There we go. I've got several pictures of the day. Beautiful, beautiful sky, evening, sunset painting. So that's what I'm taking that as my cue for the color. Now I'm down to my fuzz layer. I like to say, of course I like to say this about every layer. This is a really good feeling. This is a really good feeling to have. Ooh, I love this layer. And I do pretty much, man. I feel so lucky that pretty much I love the first splash. Anyway, that's really a good thing. I hope you can come to the point in your painting process like me, where you can go, oh, wow, I love this stage. So here I am. I love this stage. I call it the fuzz layer. It's just about the latest development in my personal painting journey. And it is where I call it the fuzz layer most of the time. I could also call it the glow layer. I could also call it the translucent layer. All of those words are true because here's the key. And let me let you look at my palette for just a minute. Hang on, getting there. Okay, there's my palette. And I want you to look at it. There we go. So I'm mixing up a little bit of white. I put some pink, permanent rose. Couldn't remember the name. Permanent rose, phthalo blue, and white to get a pale lavender. Now let's find out if that's going to be the right color when I start working on my painting. Okay, there's the painting, and I'm going to do the fuzz layer in the sky. Again, I'm looking at the photograph on my other phone. My old phone, by the way, this has been a real boon, it turns out. I was, scheduled for a new phone a couple months ago, and my old phone, which was working pretty well, had couple tiny glitches in it, but was working pretty well. But it had a crack on the back, not the front, had a crack on the back, so they wouldn't take it back. So it's mine to keep. The good news is the camera on my old phone still works perfectly well. So I've started, instead of taking an iPad to take photographs with, I've been taking my old phone, and I like the phone better than the iPad. Now, that deserves a little comment. I like painting from a phone, from a screen this size, better than I like. What's that picture going to come on? There you go. I like painting from a picture this size even more than from an iPad or some kind of pad this big. Why? Most people would think, oh, the bigger the screen, the better. But actually, the smallness of the screen helps you see relationships, a size. I'm talking here about capturing something realistically. The small screen helps us see ratios better than a big screen. I discovered this about 5 years ago when 2012, that was 5 years ago, was the year of the portrait. I started on January 1st. My goal was to do one portrait every day for a year, and I failed. Witness my distress. I was not the least upset that I failed because I ended up doing, I forget now, 285 portraits that year. Do the numbers. That's quite a few. Now, a lot of them were very quick. In fact, you can still find them. They're on my blog. It was called One Portrait Every Day, and I believe it's still available out in the cloud somewhere. And most of them were really quick. But anyway, here's what I discovered. I would do a quick portrait and then take a picture of it with my phone to send it to my blog, right? To send it to my friends so they could critique me. What I discovered was that I'm working on my portrait. I take a picture. As soon as the image showed up on my phone, I went, just like that. And then you really could witness my distress. Because as soon as my portrait showed up on that small screen, instantly I could see what was wrong with it. Whoa. So I learned the magic of small screens. Now, back in the olden days, I actually have a reducing magnifying glass. It's the opposite of a magnifying glass. It makes things smaller. And artists, you can still buy them, a reducing glass. And you can still buy them. It makes things smaller so you can see the ratio. So people have known this for a long time. It's just that they didn't have, of course, the tricks, the electronic tricks that we have. So there you go. So that's why I like painting from a phone screen even better than from an iPad. And of course, okay, since I've taken you that far, let's do the next step. So here's my photograph, right? Now, at least on a Droid, here's what you can do with that. Okay, so there's the bride and groom's heads. Do you see that? I know you're getting reflection. Let me try to fix that. There we go. See the bride and groom? Well, here's the whole photograph. Got it? Whoop, got it? So, see, this gets plenty big enough. I mean, that's bigger than I'm going to paint them in real life here in this painting. So that's the rest of the story. Now, the one, I'm a Mac guy in all the rest of my life, except in phones. For some reason, when my wife got us going on phones, 7 or 8 years ago, I don't know what it was, she got us in the world of Android. And even though, of course, iPhone still has the edge in cool factor. The iPhone is still more cool, but when it comes to the camera, up until now at least, now I don't know what the latest, greatest iPhone is, but up until now, trust me, the Droids have had the edge in the camera department, because a Droid can't do what you know what I'm trying to say. An iPhone can't do what I just showed you on that. It doesn't blow up that far. There are ways to get around that, of course, to crop it and so on and so forth. But anyway, okay, I digress. That's enough of me talking about phones. Now let's talk about painting. So this is the fuzz layer. Several words describe the fuzz layer. One is it's all translucent. Now, again, I know some people, you're not gifted with languages, and there's confusion, at least for some people. What is transparent, what is translucent, and what is opaque? It's real simple. A window is transparent. A wall is opaque. And translucent is halfway in between. Okay, so I'm doing translucent colors. That means you can see through them, but they're fuzzy. And I'm finding it a very helpful stage of the painting process. Very helpful for me. And by the way, you'll notice here, all the edges are fuzzy. All the edges are soft. So for me, as I'm learning, by the way, let me tell you something here, just real quick. Until a year and a half or 2 years ago, I never ever, in all my years of painting, I never ever heard the word edge control. Edge control, control your edges. I read it in Richard Schmid's book, Plein Air Painting, everything I know about plein air painting, which I own and am crawling through slowly. But I never heard the term until maybe I read it in his book, and now it's like there's that principle. Now I hear it everywhere, right? But this step is helping me with edge control. because this step right here is all soft edges. And one of the breakable laws of painting says it's easy for a painting to have too many hard edges. Nearly impossible, and if you're a student, man, I hope you're letting this sink in, and nearly impossible for a painting to have too many soft edges. Okay, so for me, coming in with this layer right here and softening everything has really helped my painting, because it's helped my edge control, this new word. Maybe it's been around for 100 years and I just never heard it, but I sort of doubt it. I sort of think it's kind of a new-ish terminology. It's not a new concept. I think before now it's just been called hard and soft edges or something. But anyway, edge control seems to be the new cool thing to call things, because when I'm watching good painters online now, it seems like they're all using the term edge control. So this is part of my edge control. That's me being the snooty artist. Speaking of snooty artists, how many artists are you guys following on YouTube? Huh? I appreciate you following me, and if you are following me, I hope you're enjoying it, and I hope you're telling your artist friends about me. But that's not my point here. My point is, doggone, there's a lot of good artists on YouTube. In fact, there's so many good artists on the internet, I can get downright depressed, because I watch some of these people, think, man, they're good. Wow, they're good. And if I'm not careful, and if you're not careful, you can start getting all down on yourself, thinking, oh, I'm not that good. I mean, I feel that way. So in my head, I know I'm kind of good, but I watch some people go, wow, that guy's really good. Especially the what I call the snob category of art. I'll tell you what is the snob category of art right now. It's figurative artwork, in my opinion. Figurative artwork. Now, they're good, don't get me wrong, but there's also a snob factor at work here. They do figures, and they do them all real loosey. You know, like the beautiful woman's face is like in focus. Did you like that? That's terrible. Anyway, the woman's face is all in focus, and the whole rest of the painting is all real loose. Okay. I can get intimidated when I look at all those people, and I think, man, in fact, maybe, and someday in my career, I might do mostly figurative stuff, and that'll be fine if it comes naturally. But it has to come naturally. It can't come because I'm being jerked around by other people's taste. Does that make sense? Has to grow out of me rather authentic. I can be influenced by those snooty artists. Forgive me I'm not saying they're snooty, but there's a snooty style these days. If you want to impress people, do figurative stuff, real loose. Anyway, I can get depressed almost seeing so many good artists. So I guess I want this to be a little warning. You know, watch enough artists that you get inspired and instructed, but guard yourself against depressed. Guard yourself again. Watch out for that. I'm not anybody. Nope, you are here on the planet for some good reason, and you're the only person on the planet that can be you. Everybody else would be a cheap imitation of you, and you are a cheap imitation of anybody else. So don't get sucked into looking down on yourself, feeling bad for yourself, any of that kind of stuff. Okay, so you see me doing this sky. Let me zoom in here a little bit. I just fuzzed pretty much the whole sky. But you'll notice even the very first marks that I put down, you can still see them. And for me, I feel like that's certainly a key for my style of painting, but I feel like it's very valuable. That it's not, I want to say typical, but that sounds like I'm comparing myself to other people. The point is, our eyes get a kick out of seeing stuff. And the stuff in this case includes the very first big brush swooshes that I made. Like this texture over here. Even though I just pushed it back, I just diminished it with this translucent layer. Obliterate it. That's a really important distinction. And you can still see it. So again, I'm here, I'm cheering for translucent, the magic of translucence. For years I've been saying, if you want a label for Dan Nelson's style painting, it would have to be transparent. That's what I've been saying for years, I say. And that's still accurate. But now I'd have to add an asterisk to that, an addendum, and say, oh, wait a minute. I've really begun discovering the incomparable magic of translucent color. Whoa, it's the first time I've ever said that. Let me say it again. I've begun to really delve into and understand the incomparable, that is, you can't get there any other way. You have to do this by using translucent color. Translucent paint creates a patina on your canvas that nothing else can match. Okay, let me back you up a little bit, let you see. I think I'm done with the fuzz layer, at least part of it, on the, there we go, and let me zoom in a little bit. You with me? Hang on, I do want you to be able to see this sky fairly well. Okay? So there's my sky. There's my sky. And it's 97% finished. Just in the last layer, I'm going to come back and tweak it just a tiny bit. But it is so close to being done. Let me get you back out of my way so that I can paint. There I am you can see me twice. Isn't that a treat? Once in the mirror. By the way, why do I have a mirror? I don't know if you heard me talk about that. Why do I have a mirror behind me? That is especially for doing portraits. So I can pick up a painting, lean over, and see a reflection of the painting in the mirror back there. A trick I learned long ago when my full-time job was doing illustrations. Okay. I'm going to raise up my easel a little bit. Yes, I do have an electric easel. Somebody asked me about that just the other day. It's okay. I actually prefer, and I have one with counterweights instead of the electric motor. The electric motor is too slow for me, but I'm not complaining. It's my studio easel. The big easel that I take out on the street, the large one, medium large, has counterweights on it. You have to put, every time you set up the easel, you have to put the weights on it. Anyway, just for what it's worth, somebody asked me about that. Ironically, I'm a man rich in easels. It's not because of what you know, it's because of who you know. I'll let you finish it from there. I just happen to be at the right place at the right time. Several times. Okay, the answer is because I did a number of commercials, infomercials, for the Sanyi easel company, S-A-N-Y-I. I did a number of, if you look up Sanyi easel, I think you'll probably still find videos of me walking you through the whole process. So in exchange for doing that, they actually gave me several easels there. End of story. I didn't get paid, I got paid in easels, so I have lots of easels. Okay, there's some soft edges on those distant trees. Okay, while I'm here, before I leave those distant trees, let's do a little bit more atmosphere. Back here, I say atmosphere, and then I proceed to paint structures instead of atmosphere. So, but I intended to do atmosphere. Now I'm doing it. I think you know this trick, and any trick that you overdo is overdoing it. So you have to watch out for these tricks. I call them typically, not often, I call them Bob Ross tricks. I like Bob Ross, it's not a criticism, but you need to know that they're tricks. And a trick overdone is a trick overdone. Anyway, here it is. Atmospheric perspective goes from thin to thick. In other words, you have a mountain, you have a little bit of atmospheric perspective at the top of the mountain. As you go to the valley, it gets hazier, mistier, foggier, right? Same thing here with trees. So I have a certain degree of misty, foggy atmosphere here. But as I go down in the trees, in front of the trees, the mist becomes thicker, okay? Trick of the trade. You see it in old, great, like Albert Bierstadt. Let's use him as an example. One of my favorite, 19th century landscape painters. Everybody's, one of everybody's favorite. I'm not unique there. But atmosphere gets thicker, and it really does in real life. But of course, our job as artists often is to exaggerate some of those things so that our viewers actually see it and notice it, because they notice it in real life, but they can see it on our painting. And then next time they're out in the mountains, smoky or rocky, they will see the atmosphere doing that, and they'll go, oh, look at that. It's just like a Betty Smith painting. Whoever Betty Smith is, you understand. It's just like a Dan Nelson painting. That's what I really inferred by that. Okay, let's do some, again, soft edges. Now, let me see. Yeah, I guess I'll continue down into this green grass. A little bit of softness down here. Now, for me, I've discovered that if I do too much of this soft stuff, I have to be careful, because I'll end up with a painting that I've lost too much of my energy underneath, and I don't want to do that. I do want, like I talked about in the sky, I want you still to be able to see the energy of those initial strokes. Okay, there are two stages coming yet to come on this painting. At least two, sometimes three, but typically 2 layers yet to come, and they are a pencil layer, if I so choose, one more layer of pencil, which would come next, and it's an optional layer. And then the final layer is going to be light, opaque highlights. I'm going to save those brushes with green on them. Grab a couple. Let's make up some more blue for the water down here. You missed some excitement. I was about to start broadcasting a few minutes ago, and my 15-month-old grandson walked up underneath, underneath me here. He loves to paint. And we let him sometimes pick up a clean brush and rub it on the painting, because he sees me doing this. So he loves, quote unquote, loves painting. And so he was there, and I wasn't paying much attention. I'm not a good mother, really. I'm a good grandfather, but I'm not a good mother. And next thing I know, I look down at him, and his hand has slapped over on my paint palette into dioxazine purple, dioxazine violet. And before we can say Jack Robinson, he's got dioxazine purple on both hands, his face, and covered down the front of his little sweatshirt. Oh my goodness. So I was the chief technician about what to do about this, and my daughter was the chief executioner. So basically, what did we do? First of all, we yanked off, he's crying bloody murder by this time, even though I kept laughing at him to try to keep the tension down. It was pretty cute, honestly. But so what do you do when you have a little kid with dioxazine violet? Well, we Gamsol, better than Turpenoid, Gamsol on a rag, clean Gamsol hopefully, and wiping off his hands and his mouth, and at the same time, I mean his face. Horrible stuff to put on a baby. Gamsol, woo! The best we could do is Gamsol, and seconds later, he's in the kitchen sink with warm water running, is warm soapy water wiping off the Gamsol. So he only had the Gamsol on his face for a number of seconds. And no, I do not recommend that you let your toddler, infant, get Gamsol on his face. But this happened, like I said, I'm a bad mother. So that was how we cleaned him up. And it was a quick step A, step B process. Gamsol to get the paint off, and warm soapy water to get the Gamsol off within seconds. We didn't let it sit there for minutes or anything. Anyway, so it was pretty exciting. It was pretty loud, because as I said, he was screaming bloody murder. Oh my goodness, the dangers of being an artist, and being an artist with toddlers in the house. So we're expecting that he will come through without any long-term health effects. I'm being a little facetious. I'm not terribly worried about it. And the good news is I don't have any cadmium or cobalt in my paints. Try to avoid all the toxic colors altogether. And I believe Gamsol is, so I'm really glad it was that. I believe it's the least, whatever the word is, toxic of all the popular cleaners. Some of you might be saying, well, couldn't you have used Murphy's oil soap? And I've got some down there, but it's contaminated. It's not clean. So no, I was afraid that that would be a worse option. Okay, I'm slipping here into my final layer. And I don't want to continue, but sometimes you just want to get something done to make sure it's going to look okay. And this is one of those moments. I want to do, the final layer is light opaque. The word is opaque, and the edges now in this last layer can be much harder than the edges were in the last layer, the fuzz layer. But this is probably a good place for me to pause. I've been rattling on for quite a long time. Let's stop here. I'll zoom in one time real quick into the cloud. Do you see? That's starting to look like clouds, isn't it? But the trick is not making it look like clouds. That's easy. Making it look like clouds is easy. What you want it to look like is paint. Paint first that accidentally, golly, looks just like clouds. In my book, that's good painting. Okay, enough said, enough preaching. I'll be